funding for the Woodbine Library. A little history about this is Woodbine Library came to us several years ago and asked for one-time funding of $30,000, and we agreed to that. They came back the next several years and we agreed again. Last year we decided not to fund them anymore. So with that, I'll turn it over to the Woodbine Library.
How are y'all doing this afternoon?
Good, thank you.
My name's Clint Moxley. I've spoken with most of you. I'm the director of Three Rivers Regional Library System, and Woodbine is a branch of our public library system.
You might want to get a little closer to the mic.
Is that better there? Okay, sorry about that. Coming from the perspective of funding, I was not in any of the discussions when this was first brought up. I have been at Three Rivers since 2014, but I was not in the administrative position I am now, so I can't speak to what was said previously. I can come at it from the perspective of the way funding is set up for public libraries throughout the state of Georgia. In terms of local responsibility versus state responsibility. When Three Rivers adopted or admitted Woodbine Public Library Board of Trustees as a library system, and then it was my understanding that when they came and got the funding from the county commission at the first request, and I realize there has been a discrepancy of that for some time as to whether or not it was an ongoing or a one-time funding matter. What I am hoping that we can do, and I have a presentation I gave each one of y'all in the packet. You have a slide presentation as well as the presentation that I submitted for the work session that kind of outlines some of the services that we offer as far as this public library offers to the community of Woodbine and the surrounding Camden County smaller municipalities, the upper part of the county and all. We are asking for the $30,000 that we originally asked for, and I'm hoping also that we could come to some sort of memorandum of understanding or maintenance of effort agreement moving forward to where we can secure funding from the county ongoing for the foreseeable future in order to allow this library to continue and to continue to serve this community. If you will look in your packets that I gave you to start, this is a Excel spreadsheet. Now this spreadsheet is for the last fiscal year of July 1st, 2021 to June 30th of 2022, so that you could have an entire year's worth of statistical data. And I just wanted to go through this. This is something I've given before, but I want to go through it again with especially with the new commissioners to kind of outline this. The total number of patrons as of June 30th of last year that Woodbine had was 138 card holders. Now, card holder only means that the person has set Woodbine as their home library. That does not reflect the actual number of potential patrons with a unique library card that has used that library. It's solely, okay, thank you. It's solely the number of patrons that are specific as Woodbine as their home library. So if they ever place a hold, on an item from another library, it would be sent to the Woodbine Public Library for them to pick up. There's also, if you look at total circulations, in column K, last year, 2,219 items circulated outside of the Woodbine Public Library. Now, those are both holds and items specific to Woodbine Public Library. And if you look down one column here, 1,298 of those were juvenile materials circulated. And one of the things that I know our board has stressed continuously with this commission is how vital this library is to the community for the children that this community serves. And that number makes up over half of the total items circulated out of this library. I'll let you, if you have questions about any of these other columns, please let me know. But this gives you a breakdown of library attendance, computer usage, anything and everything that we record for what this library has done for the community. We are slowly growing. We opened in the middle of COVID, and so that has also affected these numbers. But as you will see when I kind of go through our presentation here, and I will go ahead and start that. One of the questions that I know was asked was the mission and vision statement. And I'm going to read it here for everyone and the commissioners. The Woodbine Public Library, Inc. shall offer a center of educational, economic, and cultural development for Woodbine and the surrounding Camden County community by carrying out the mission of providing space, materials, and programs that stimulate a love of learning for people of all ages by making available a wide variety of traditional and innovative resources. One thing that I want everyone in this room to be aware of is a library is no longer a repository for books. We offer so many more services than just books circulating out of a building. Let's see. This is some of that statistical data that I gave y'all. The current cardholder number as of this morning when I had the records pulled are 219. In the past year, well, not even quite a year, from June 30th until now, we have increased almost 100 users. And again, that is specific card holders to the Woodbine Public Library. We are growing by leaps and bounds. We have a very local, motivated staff. They're from the Woodbine and Camden County communities, and they have been very integral in reaching out to this community and drawing our patrons in. I don't know if any of you have been able to go by when a story time is in session or they're having a program, but we've had as many as 30 and 40 young people and their parents or guardian at a story time at this library. And when you pack that many people into that little building, it's full. And we've continued to reach out and grow. So I'm very hopeful that you will, consider, of course, funding us this year, amending the budget where we can get the money that we hope for this fiscal year. But again, creating some sort of memorandum of understanding or maintenance of effort agreement with this commission to continue funding. As I said, we're so much more than just books. And one of the things I wanted to outline to show some of the services that we offer. These are just a few of the partnerships that the Woodbine Public Library has access to through being a part of Three Rivers, as well as the greater GPLS, which is Georgia Public Library Service. Zoo Atlanta, the state park passes, the Go Fish Education Center, and the Center for Puppetry Arts all allow for free admission and usage to library patrons. With Zoo Atlanta, there used to be a stipulation where you came and checked out a DVD. Now that is no longer even the case. You can just come as a patron and get access. And the Zoo Atlanta is good for 4 passes, 2 adult, 2 children. So a family of 4 can attend the zoo free of charge just by being a patron of the library. State park passes, we can check those out. I don't know if any of you have used those before, but you go check it out from the library and it allows for free parking, free admission into any state park in the state of Georgia. They check out for a period of a week. You can renew those and check those back in. We also have a larger set, which is a book bag that every library has. It has, of course, the pass, and then it also has all materials like maps and things that are in the book bag that patrons can then have available to them when they go out to the parks. And those also check out for a week. And all these services are, of course, free to the Woodbine community and the north end of Camden County because they can go get them from the public library here at Woodbine. The Go Fish Education Center over in, I believe it's Perry, they can go fish, all that, the children can fish for free, and it's an educational day that you can have. It's a fun day. It's again, that's free as well. And then the Center for the Center for Puppetry. Thank you. Sometimes the words just don't want to come out. The Center for Puppetry Arts is also free admission, and that's if I'm not mistaken, a 4 pass as well. All those, and there are many others that we have partnerships with. These are just some of the big 4 that we really see a lot of usage in this system for. The Farm Bureau has a partnership with GPLS libraries where they give free books out to children and free books to the libraries, depending on if we can get those. There's the Fox Theater, which will send around displays that we can host at libraries, which basically allows the patrons to attend these shows and things and never have to leave the local area. You know, there's the pictures, the displays, and they never have to leave Woodbine to be able to go see these. All they have to do is go to the library. Then I wanted to talk about some of the other services that we offer. Galileo, for those of you who are not familiar, is a database system through the University System of Georgia. We at the Woodbine Library, and as well as all Three Rivers libraries, have access to this because we're in the public library system, the GPLS system with Georgia, and it's paid for on behalf of all of our libraries. So there's no charge to your patrons. They get access to it. Now there is a system in place which they are piloting and slowly, it's slowly switching over to this. Used to, you had to go into the physical footprint of the library in order to access these materials for free. Now, as long as you have a library card with your library's suffix of numbers, you access it from anywhere. They can, students can access it from home. They can access it if they're on a family trip and they have to do any sort of report, as long as they have a library card. Then just to go over a couple of these others, Libby is our ebook platform that we are now using. We're on a statewide system. There are 60 systems in the state of Georgia, and 59 of them are on Libby. And Libby is simply the app that what's called Overdrive, which is the platform, utilizes. This is accessible to all the patrons here at Woodbine, free of charge, ebooks. All they have to do is check them out just like they would at the library, and they can check them out from anywhere as long as they have a mobile device that they can access Libby on. They will, they can put a hold on a book if it's not available until later, and as soon as it becomes available, they will have access to it. They can read it. They keep it for X amount of time, 2 weeks, or they can renew it, of course, for 4 weeks or 6 weeks. And then it falls off of their app, just like you returned it to the physical location. But this allows for magazines, newspapers, anything that used to be a physical copy. Of course, there's also Pines, which, if y'all are not familiar, Pines is the statewide system, which allows for the interlibrary loan of materials throughout the state. Another big partnership we have, or sub-partnership, is Glass, which is the destination for the blind, or the materials for the blind. Glass is a part of GPLS, and because Woodbine is a member of Three Rivers, they can access those materials. If y'all have blind patrons that come in, they can request books on tape or in Braille. The Glass service will send them out in the mail to the patron at the patron's home. When the patron's done with it, they just turn around and mail it back. All that, again, is only accessible because Woodbine is a public library and is a member of Three Rivers. Libraries offer a safe and stable place for children and members of the community to go to gain information. And we, at both the Woodbine Library and then the members of my staff, which is located at in Jessup at our Three Rivers regional location, are there for the expertise of providing that information to the patrons of Woodbine. So this is not an expense in terms of a local expense from the staff, apart from the staff that are needed here to keep this library open. Three Rivers provides the cataloging expertise, the IT expertise, the programming expertise. That expense is bore by Three Rivers, which is funded through the Georgia Public Library Service, and not an expense on Woodbine's side, or, in turn, the Camden County side. Let's see here. Let's see. Because it is a member of Three Rivers, and with it going back to the Pines thing, or the Pines system rather, Woodbine has access to not only the local collection here at Woodbine, or the collection of even the Camden County Public Library, but over 275 libraries across the state. Patrons here at Woodbine can put in a request through the Pines cataloging system, interlibrary loan system, and have any material throughout the state sent directly to the library here. They can pick it up here, and therefore your patrons who don't have the means to travel or go and obtain these materials elsewhere have them at their fingertips only because they're in the Georgia Public Library Service a member of Three Rivers, and a member of Pines. That's really all I have on terms of the presentation. I didn't realize that slide didn't. Summer reading programs and reading incentives are one of the things we do during the summer to help maintain the level of literate level of your students, because we have found that, you know, during the summer, there is that lax time and you don't want to lose what they've learned in the previous year. So the public library feels that need with the summer reading program. We have different goals that they can set for themselves, different activities that they can come and attend. And we try to keep an interest in reading for the child and for, you know, your students here at Woodbine throughout the summer and going into the next school year. And then this is the contact information for myself and Erica Rainey, or I'm sorry, Erica Stenbridge. She just got married, so but she is the acting manager here at Woodbine. I ask if y'all have any questions, you know, even, yeah, well,
So much.
As Clint said, my name is Erica Stenbridge. I'm the Youth Services and Programs Coordinator and currently the Library Manager at the Woodbine Public Library. As he also stated, the library opened its doors in September 2020, which we all know was a very challenging time as we were in the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, which still seems to be going on, unfortunately. This health crisis affected the library as it did many other organizations, but after 2 years, the progress is easy to see. The notebook that's being passed around is full of programs that we have had in the past year, which include monthly story times, a teen group hosting a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, which we were very excited about to get teens into the library. We had at least 10, which is a big number for really any of our libraries, but especially for Woodbine. An escape room event, the annual birthday celebration with famous author Carmen Agrediti. And finally, I wanted to put a special emphasis on our most attended story time of the year. We had 50 in attendance at October's Spooky Story Time. So that's the biggest attendance we've had at any story time, which was super exciting for us. Helen Keller once said, "A bend in the road is not the end of the road unless you fail to make the turn." The Woodbine Public Library is striving to make the turn to keep traveling on the road to a successful future. We provide services to the north end of the county that are essential for those that don't have the ability to drive all the way to Kingsland or St. Mary's. So please do reconsider funding us in your current budget. Thank you.
Anybody else from Woodbine Library?
My name is Mary Kay Lindquist, and I am the chair of the Board of Trustees for the Charlton Public Library. And as such, I know what a struggle it is to keep a library going. And I just want to say to you that 6 years ago, when the ladies from Woodbine came to us and said, "We want to start a library, tell us what we need to do." And to think that they have brought this to your community in such a short period of time blows me away. So I just hope that you appreciate them and their commitment, and that you realize what a treasure you have in this end of the county, and that you will consider very seriously continuing the funding. Thank you.
Anybody from the city of Woodbine here? They were invited to come to this work session.
I don't want to spend the time talking if you have questions. So, we started this outreach in January of 2016, and this is the first work session that we have had with county. We've talked to many of you one-on-one and gotten very good results, but don't let me keep you from asking your questions and interacting so that we can make good progress.
I urge all the commissioners to read their MOU here. In your MOU, it says public libraries are fundamentally a local responsibility governed by the local board of trustees appointed by the local funding agency. Who appointed your board?
Our board was created by the Woodbine City Council in 2016. Let me just read a little bit of our origin, so maybe that will help you understand. And so in January 2016, members of the Woodbine Women's Club created the Woodbine Library Initiative by reaching out to citizens and leaders of our schools, our sheriff's office, our city, our county, our school board, state governments, local businesses, nonprofit organizations, and the Three Rivers Regional Library System. The idea was to create a public lending library closer to home to better serve 11,000 citizens in North Camden County. Woodbine was the only Georgia county seat without a lending library. This was an equal quality of life issue. Early progress came very fast. The city of Woodbine responded. They passed a resolution in support of the Woodbine Library in June of 2016. This allowed us to create a board of trustees, incorporate with the state of Georgia on November of 2016, and gain IRS nonprofit public charity status, 501c3 status in January of 2017. Throughout all of this time, we were in close contact with Steve Howard, with many of you as individuals, but we were never invited or allowed to sit down and talk with you about our plan. But we began to make good progress. The city donated the unused fire station after placing a new roof. They donated an AC unit, which we eventually could not use because it was a three-phase unit and far larger than what we needed. They repaired the electrical, brought the electrical up to code. So Woodbine put in a good bit of what they had available to put in. The building is now insured at $500,000. The money that went in from the state was about $280,000. So City of Woodbine really put in $230,000 in value into that building for us. We continued to make good progress. The citizens of this entire county supported us wholeheartedly. We had endless fundraisers. A wonderful commissioner came and cooked a barbecue dinner for us. We brought in really nationally acclaimed storytellers and performers, sold tickets, sold meals, and we raised a good bit of public money, our private donations that went into the public coffers to support this library. And in a way, that some of those funds are the funds that you see beyond what the county has put in. The school board began very early in 2017 and offered us $10,000 a year. And that funding was to go directly to Three Rivers as our financial manager, and they have continued to fund us. Then we got the $250,000 state dollars that we feel like we brought back to Camden County to build this library. Now, this is still a citizens group, mostly women, but we had friends, everyone helping out together And we were able to bring this money back to Camden County to create this library. There was no vision or no thought along the way anywhere that we could come to the county and maybe hopefully get $30,000-$40,000 as a one-time event, because we didn't want people to come to the library and check out a few books and go home and that's the end of it. We knew we were building something that would last forever and ever and ever. And that's what we hope. So we know that we are going to require your funding to keep this going. You know, a child is to be held and to be cuddled, to be read to hold and to turn the pages of 1,000 books before she begins kindergarten. And you, our county administrators, our county elected officials, can make this possible for the families in North Camden County by your allocating our tax dollars to a library in the county seat of Camden County in Woodbine, Georgia. Children learn to read in kindergarten, first grade, second grade. From third grade up, if they have mastered the skills and had the preparation before kindergarten, so they become good readers. From third grade on, they are reading to learn. So learning to read and then reading to learn. And while holding the book is not the only goal that our library offers, that is still a major goal of our library, is to put hands into the books of people. And, you know, we're all focused on these, you know, looking at this instead of picking up this book and turning the page, which is going to be the durable thing in the long run. We've worked with many nonprofits. We received corporate donations, both from both of our large power companies. We've received funding. We received last year from Okefenokee Rural Electric a $5,000 grant that allowed us to put the name on the building to get good publicity about the library out. And tomorrow, we understand that we are being awarded more money from Okefenokee. So we do clearly appreciate that. And that's what we're able to do as a 501c3. But those funds are limited and designated to specific items. You know, as you write a grant, you have to spend it on that particular thing. Your funds are the funds that keep us staffed, keep the electricity bill paid, and keep this library in operation. And we do very much need it. We appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Miss Heath, hold on. I grew up in Woodbine, right behind the courthouse here, and the only thing we had to do was go behind the Ozaki's house and throw cow chips at each other. So I do sympathize and empathize with you. I think that the library is a very, very needed thing in Woodbine because I remember what this place was like. We didn't have anywhere to go. I do have a few questions though. I did ride by there, and you're right, it really looks nice. But you say you have reading programs in summer? That's consistent, right?
Yes, and Erica and Clint can tell you more about that. I believe that is something that is not maybe funded with your dollars, but funded from the state.
Okay,
So the state does put in so much funds, you know, your funds are not alone. We've gained so much from being a part of the state library system. There are 60 regions. Our Three Rivers is one of those regions. There are 9 libraries in our region, and those 9 libraries function pretty much independently, but through Three Rivers.
okay, and then two more things. Do you have tutors? I mean, that, you know, are there consistently to help with the kids with their homework and that kind of stuff? Do you do any of that at the library?
There are 2 staff members available at all times, and I'm sure they can ask questions and help. When we were first setting this up, we got such enthusiasm from the Woodbine Elementary School, and teachers were really looking forward to the time that they might be able in the summer to come to the library and do some tutoring or set up something that they could offer, because as you know, our school system is closed in the summer. Takes too much money to keep that AC going,
Yeah.
even to have the library open.
Right.
So we are hoping that as we grow, we can continue to offer more and more services like that.
Okay. And then I didn't hear, you may have answered this, do the card holders, do they pay for the card? Is that
No,
that's a free?
it's a free.
I had one more question, but I didn't read enough when I was a kid, so it slipped my mind. If I remember it, I'll ask you later on. Oh, I know what it was. Miss June asked me to bring this up, and I will. She was talking about how do the kids at the north end of the county get here? And do you guys have, transportation to get them here? Their parents have to bring them? Have you worked with the school system or asked for any kind of bus or anything like that that may encourage, especially at the north end of the county, for those children to come to Woodbine?
That is a very good suggestion, especially during summer months. Maybe we could explore that possibility. But you do have a county bus system. I don't know how well it's working, but through your ARPA funding, you are providing transportation. Right now, the majority of children either walk to the library or are brought by parents. But I must say, if you're 20 miles up county, Woodbine is much closer than going to Kingsland or St.
Right.
Mary's. While we do greatly appreciate those libraries and the efforts that they provide.
Well, I'll make one suggestion. Timothy Bissett, he's not here. I don't see him. But he's been asking for a bus. And I tried to find him one. We have one in our church, but it's not in good enough shape for him to use. If you could somehow partner with different organizations, I'm sure you would, that might be a solution there for him, because that's what he wants to do. He wants to bring these children into town so that they can do some things. So that's just a suggestion. I hope that Georgia Power and REA continue to fund you guys, and I hope that you continue to be a library in Woodbine. I think it's a great idea, and I appreciate it.
Thank you so
Now,
much.
a couple of years ago, you asked me how you could guarantee funding for the Woodbine Library. And I suggested that you become part of the Camden County Library. And you said that y'all would work on that. That has not been done.
Well, in my understanding, there was talk that we would be a branch. If you look at the designation of size of a library, we are a service outlet. Camden is a branch. So I don't know that we could be a branch of a branch, but
It might be a branch of Three Rivers, but it is not, the Camden County Library is not a branch of the Camden County Library System. It is the Camden County.
it is the Camden County. So it's
And I
just a
don't
matter
see
of
why
terminology.
Woodbine could not become part of the Camden County Library.
Well, we do need to have our separate funding in terms of accounting, and you can understand that. If we had one budget for the Camden Library and it had X dollars for electricity and X dollars for water sewer and X dollars for staff, then someone is going to have to sit down and break out, well, there's 2 staff members at Woodbine, there are more staff members up in Camden, and how you sort that out.
That's simple accounting.
Well, so what is happening right now in your simple accounting? The county is, the 3 years that you funded us, the county is cutting one check to Camden Library. That funding all goes to Three Rivers to be managed now that you have turned your accounting of library funds over to Three Rivers. And it's Three Rivers who takes that one check and pays for what Camden needs and pays for what Woodbine needs. Did I explain that correctly, Clint?
I know that in talking even with you, Commissioner Casey, about the concept of Woodbine becoming a branch at one point. And I will be perfectly honest and say, I have posed this question to one of the assistant state librarians, how that would work. And they have not gotten back to me in terms of how we would break that down. Currently, they're two different entities. As far as the state looks on them, they're two different entities. There's two different boards of trustees. And I honestly don't know how we would merge the two together, if I'm being honest with you. From Three Rivers' perspective, we are the administration and the fiscal agent for both the Camden County Public Library and the Woodbine Public Library. There is a board in place at both facilities. Both boards are considered advisory boards in terms of the way libraries are set up. In the library world, there is a governing board, which is your regional library board, made up of either representatives or every member of your local boards. There's only 3 systems in the state where every member of a local board is also a member of the governing board. Three Rivers happens to be one of those. So our governing board, which is the Three Rivers Regional Library Board, is made up of members from all local boards. The governing board has identified Woodbine as its own entity. So the merging of the two would have to start with our governing board. And with the local boards being advisory, then there's the logistics of whom and how you merge the boards together, and then whose interest each board then serves. And so it's kind of a logistical nightmare in that regard. And then there is the money situation. To be blunt about the money, what we would need in order to basically keep both branches open as it is we would still be requesting 30,000 extra for Woodbine. There would be whatever we request from Camden County. I believe it's around 312 now. And then 30 extra on top of that for the Woodbine Library. The way it's currently set up, when the county sends the money to Three Rivers, it comes in one lump sum. It's broken down quarterly. Of course, we have not received a Woodbine portion thus far this year. But prior to, in previous years, when the county was supporting Woodbine with the 30,000 annually, we received the quarter from Camden County's allocation as well as the quarter from Woodbine's allocation. It came in one lump sum, and then we broke it out in our accounting system and paid the various bills accordingly. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but that's what I can explain based on how I know it's set up currently.
I have a question. You just said that you got funds from Woodbine and the county and you had to break it out. When does Woodbine give you any funds?
Not this current fiscal year.
How about any year?
Now, when I state Woodbine, what I mean is Woodbine Public Library's portion from Camden County.
But you said.
Not Woodbine, the city. I apologize if that was what was understood.
Yeah, it was.
It's Woodbine Public Library's portion from the county is what I meant by that.
Kind of on the same subject there, Lanny, is, Mr. Reddick, Commissioner Reddick proposed a dollar for dollar deal with Woodbine. If Woodbine put in $1, we would put in $1. In talking to the mayor and one of the council members, I said, you put in $1, we'd put in $2. Woodbine's not here. Also, I think, I could be wrong, but I was under the impression that Camden County dissolved its trustees with the library.
No, they still have a library board by By law, all libraries have to have.
When's the last time they met?
They meet quarterly. They met in, I believe it was January, early January, late December.
We'll have to look in on that. 'Cause- Anybody got anything else?
It does benefit us greatly to have our separate board of trustees because being a new library, we feel like we're still nurturing this library for the Woodbine area, for the North Camden. So it's a little different than a established library that's been going for a long time and the role of those trustees when they have their meetings. We're meeting quarterly. We've just reworked our bylaws. We almost put in that we would meet monthly because there is so much to do that we can hardly go 3 months and still carry our role. Now, the trustees of the Woodbine Library are the owners of the building because the deed to that building and the land was given to Woodbine Public Library Incorporated, the business arm of incorporating with the state of Georgia and creating that 501c3. That's the way the deed to that building is written. So we need to maintain our board of trustees as the owners of that property. And in state law, there are statements that say that if a library is created with a nonprofit, that nonprofit can continue to own the building. So those are just some of the issues. When we met with Blunt just briefly in November, and we were promised a work session then, but things didn't develop. And so we're so happy to now have a work session and talk with you. Clint presented something that showed the money that comes from the state to our regional library. And there are several categories, and Clint covered some of that in the slide, the computers, the books allotment, the fact that librarians who naturally demand a higher salary because of their expertise in training and education, those people are at the regional library. So that saves you money locally. You don't have to pay the salary of a librarian at each of the libraries. So there are 9 libraries in our region. Those funds come to Three Rivers and they're distributed among the 9 libraries. If Woodbine becomes a bound-up integral part of Camden Library, then there are 8 libraries. Now, that doesn't mean that that 9th share of money goes to Camden. That 9th share gets shared with the 8 libraries. Because we have not received our funding this year from the county, the state is watching us very, very carefully. And there is impact on the other 8 libraries in our region because we are not being funded. And the state can retain or pull some of the funding they're sending to Three Rivers if our local governments don't fund our library. So that makes it difficult for us to interact with other libraries. And while they welcomed us wholeheartedly into the Three Rivers system, we have to advocate, we have to do our part, we have to keep our funding.
Thank you. Any commissioners got anything else? We're gonna close this work session and we'll adjourn back at 6 o'clock for a regular meeting. Lady Brent, then join us with a pledge of allegiance.
Would you stand, please? Father God, we're so thankful for this gorgeous day you have given us. Father, we thank you for every household represented here this evening. Father, just be with us this evening as we make the decisions for doing the business of Camden County, that the decisions we make benefit all of Camden County. Father, just continue to be with us. Keep us in line, Father. For this we pray in your most glorious name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag. Roll call, Katie.
Commissioner Reddick is absent.
Is there any agenda amendments? Hearing none, can we get an adoption of the agenda?
Motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries. Okay, this brings us to the approval of the minutes for February 7th. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes if there's no changes?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
I second.
All in favor? Motion carries. All right, this brings us to the first public comment section.
First will be Mr. Bengal.
My name is Ben Goff. I live at Harriet's Bluff. Ignorance can be cured. It would seem imperative for county administration to realize that anyone with an internet connection is able to watch and or read about the show that occurs with much of the Board of Commissioners meetings. $100,000 for a scoreboard from unincorporated tax funds? Have you lost all reasoning? It is apparent to anyone that much of the staff as well as the commissioners are ignorant of the fact that the world is watching. You go from intervening emotions to improper use of terms such as old business on the agenda. Is it ignorance or obstinate? I firmly believe that it's obstinacy, which is the trait of being hard to influence or control, resolute, adherence to your own ideas or desires, bullheadedness, pigheadedness, self-will, and stubbornness, straight out of the dictionary. According to our county clerk, it's the county administrator who is obstinate that we continue to see the improper use of old business on the actionable agenda rather than unfinished business. Is it just semantics? No. It is improper use of terms as outlined by Robert's rules, which, by the way, the ACCG highly recommends to be the source to be used in conducting meetings of the county. Unfinished business is business from an earlier meeting consisting of motions not fully disposed of, as are the 3 items on the agenda tonight that were improperly tabled instead of postponed definitely or indefinitely. We are paying an uninformed, obstinate individual $170,000 annually to administer the business of the county.
Mr. Goff, you shouldn't do personal attacks.
I don't think that was a personal attack, sir.
Very much so.
I think so.
Yes.
You can strike that from the record. But you, Mr. Chairman, allow this. Additionally, we are paying a local attorney vast sums to give legal advice that from all appearances only seem to cost the taxpayers more money. Challenge that individual to learn enough parliamentary law to adequately advise the 5 of you and the county administrator. As a citizen of this county, I'm embarrassed by the actions, or more appropriately, the inactions of the lot of you. Representative government is a real process, and Camden County, for the most part, does not subscribe to it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Goff. But I will point out one thing that, everybody harps on Robert's rules of order. Robert's Rules of Order gives the chairman strict control over what's on the agenda. We're not proposing that either, sir. You know, if you want Robert's Rules of Order, we can give it to you, but that gives me ultimate control over the agenda. Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak?
Mr. Bill Johnson.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Bill Johnson. I live at 198 West Magnolia Avenue in Kingsland, Georgia. And I wanted to speak on a couple of items, if that's permissible. First of all, the library. You know, I cannot imagine a community without a library. I've lived in many places in several countries, and I've always utilized the library. It's very difficult to imagine a community without a library, for a community is characterized by its library. And people need a library, especially our young folks. The way that things are changing today in our climate, technology, et cetera, et cetera. And the other thing I wanted to speak on is regarding to an acknowledgement, really. I want to acknowledge the efforts, the work, the time that this commission has committed, their commitment. In dealing with the spaceport program. But all of this work, time and effort seems to be in vain. In vain. This commission has forgotten or have chosen to ignore that you are an elected body responsible to the citizens of Camden County. Daniel Webster stated the American government is the people's government, made for the people, by the people, and answerable to the people. Any cursory reading of the Federalist Papers, the U.S. Declaration of Independence, to the U.S. Constitution, you'll notice repeatedly the words of the people, for the people, by the people.
You got about 30 seconds.
Holds their seats. This body by election of the people, by the people, and for the people of Camden County and the glorious state of Georgia. You have abused the trust of the people by ignoring the voice of the majority of the people. You've been secretive and deceptive in regards to the issues surrounding the spaceport agenda.
Well, your time's
You've
up.
consistently tried to hide and spin the reports of various experts. But above all, you have ignored the voice of the people. When they
Your 3
petition
minutes are up,
for you
sir.
to cease and desist, you file a motion to a magistrate to have the petition made null and void.
Sir,
You arrogantly
sir, your 3 minutes are up.
rejected the petition of the voice of the people and even filed suit to have the petition annulled. However, the Supreme Court of Georgia has vindicated the petition and upheld the right of
Sir,
the people
Your 3 minutes are
to
up.
have redress and participate in the legislative council of this commission. I'm not finished.
You-
Matter.
Carry on. Carry on.
Mr. Steve Winkle?
Thank you, Steve Winkle. I've given each of you a copy of 3 letters from the FAA to Commission Chairman Jimmy Starline. Several of them were copied to former County Administrator Steve Howard. These are matters of record that are not available from the county under the Georgia Open Records Act, that y'all have refused to provide the records that the public is entitled to and has been entitled to for about 10 years. Now, you're going to vote on that tonight about whether you're going to release all of the records, unredacted or not. And since the Supreme Court has killed the spaceport, unless y'all got something slimy up your sleeves, I would like to remind you that on February 12, 2019, the FAA said that after we had spent $7 million, the FAA found that the application is not complete enough to start the 180-day review period. On May 29th, 2019, the FAA said in a follow-up letter, the application is still not complete enough to start the 180-day review period. And then on December 16th, 4 days before y'all decided to change from large rockets to non-existent rockets, on the 178th day of the 180-day review period, you asked the FAA to stop reviewing. FAA wrote, there remain issues, concerns that have not been satisfactorily resolved, including fire, U.S. national security, and environmental assessment. And this is after we had already spent $7 million on a spaceport in which you could not even meet the minimum standards. And then I look at this report here in front of me that says during that period of time, we spent $1,750 to Floaters Portable Sanitation for an executive toilet that y'all sent out to the spaceport, which really wasn't a spaceport, it was the Bear property, in order to witness an amateur rocket launch that was used to promote the so-called spaceport. Y'all had absolutely no respect for our money. Right above on this list says $593,000. I have asked for more than a year for the open records unredacted for Fenimore Ventures Group Incorporated. $593,000, their contract mentions nothing about real estate acquisition, but y'all have withheld $593,000 worth of expenses, which by my math is 20 years worth of support for the Woodbine Library that y'all spent on Fenimore Ventures without allowing the public to see a single document
Your time.
that wasn't mostly blackened out.
Thank you for your comment.
Mr. Ricky Manning?
Rick Manning from Bullhead. I'm just gonna run through these agenda items and touch base on what I think about them. Number 2, discussion on the motion to release all records. It's simple, release the damn records. Funding for the Woodbine Public Library. That should not even be a question with this board. Slush funds, E-slush or E-slots, whatever you wanna call them, that's what they are, slush funds. ARPA, y'all giving that stuff away, but you can't even support the little local library. That's a shame. Where else am I gonna go with this? District attorney, prosecute all those involved. That should have been done. That's another simple answer. Why are we not prosecuting people that broke the law? Let's get them. And the termination of the county attorney contract. Whoa, that's a good one, ain't it? Honestly, you shouldn't have terminated his contract. Money he's done cost us, he should resign.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else, Katie?
That's all I have, Registrar.
Anybody from the public wish to speak on an agenda item only?
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Mark Fouts. I live at 310 West Bryant Street in St. Mary's. Just wanted to comment very quickly on the release of the spaceport records. Those records belong to the public. The public paid for them. The public has the right to those records. I implore you to vote to release those records to the public because they belong to the public. If you guys want to fool around with real estate, one thing I would ask you to do, make a law that says that the Chinese Communist Party can't buy real estate in Camden County. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening. This is a first for me. Not into politics a lot, but I'm Jeff Herron. I'm the football coach at the high school. But first of all, guys, I'm not here to get on to you about anything. I just wanted to talk to you about agenda item number 6 and, you know, why that so many of us feel that it's a very important issue. A quick story, 23 years ago, hard to believe it's that long, but 23 years ago, I was asked to come down and interview for the football job at Camden County. My wife and I left Oconee County on Highway 15 in a driving rainstorm. We drove Highway 15 all the way to Folkestone, pouring down rain, didn't see anything, couldn't see anything. And my wife said, "Where in the world are you taking me to?" We got to Camden County, came through, came across 40 there and got into Camden County and went to the Applebee's to eat. We got done eating, we walked outside, it quit raining, the sun was shining. And there was a huge rainbow. This is a true story, I promise you. And my wife said, "Well, where's the school?" And I said, "Well, I got a feeling it's over there underneath that rainbow." And so we drove over in that direction, the back way from Applebee's, past the now Coastal Georgia College and all that stuff, and came in the back way to the stadium and the rec center. And that was the first thing I saw. And quite honestly, it was the most impressive thing that I saw. I mean, that stadium stood out back then, 23 years ago. It was really something. It was a great facility, and you know, the rec center and the pool and all the facilities over there were just unbelievable to me. I was coming from a small school and just couldn't believe how nice they were. And I told my wife right then and there, I said, "This is the place I want to be." And that was before I ever even talked to anybody. So fast forward 23 years, and you know, we're asking for our stadium, and it says on here scoreboard to be updated. It's not a scoreboard, okay? You know, scoreboard you could do with a little plastic thing you set up here. It's a video thing. It's a sound thing. It is a scoreboard, but it's so much more. On graduation night, everybody walks across that stage, has their picture put on one of those things. Every stadium in our region has one. We had one, but it was put in back in 2010, I believe, and it no longer works. And we feel very strongly, I know I do, the other football players, parents, and again, this is not a football issue. Yes, we have 8 home football games next year, 7, I guess, and it's going to be full of people. You know, graduation night, there'll be close to 20,000 people there. And every one of them benefits from that type of scoreboard, matrix board, whatever you want to call it. So I just feel like it would be a great addition to our community. It is something that our community is proud of. There's a lot of people that use that facility that would benefit from that, and just would sincerely hope and pray that you all will give that due consideration. All right, thank you.
Well, thank you. Anybody else?
Janet Heath. I live 1 mile out of the city of Woodbine, but Woodbine is my hometown. I live in the unincorporated tax district. I'm glad you're going to have a scoreboard, a video screen, all of the things that serve this county so well at that stadium. Looking at the page, item number 6, where you will start discussing that, it seems the way I look at the numbers, and last time there was $2.5 million in the unincorporated tax district. If you pay the $5,000 for the scoreboard, and you've just bought a lot of lawn mowing equipment. It looks to me, if I can calculate it right, that the funding remaining in 2023 in the unincorporated tax district is at about $990,623. We appreciate very much your giving us a work session at 5 o'clock with the Woodbine Public Library. And I just made a road trip. DOT has a wonderful sign up now. It says, "Looking at the road is a good way to stay on it." So looking at the road also implies that you're seeing. And once you're seeing, you need to acknowledge. You could do the same thing with hearing. Hearing means listening and then paying attention to what you're hearing. When there must be a whole procedure for reinstituting trust when trust has been lost. So I just hope that with this new county commission and with the things that we need to do to go forward to make this county strong, that we can work together and that we can all get on the same page and we can make this county a strong county that we all want to be a part of. And that will take listening and hearing, probably tasting and smelling and all of the other senses too. To hold and turn the pages of a book. A child is to be held and cuddled, to be read to hold and turn the pages of 1,000 books before she goes to kindergarten. And you, our county commission, makes this possible for the families in North Camden County by allocating our tax dollars to a library in our county seat in Woodbine, Georgia. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Mary Beckman, I live in District 3, and this comment concerns item 3 on the agenda and more generally the method specified in section 1409 of the Unified Development Code for appointing members of the Planning Commission. On the face of it, this section suggests that the Planning Commission should adequately represent the residents of the 5 different districts. Currently, there is no member of the commission who lives in District 5. Could you give us some clarity on what criteria you use in choosing the appointees if representation of the different districts is not your priority? And in this context, it's also relevant to note that the current Planning Commission consists only of white men. If there's going to be any kind of representation, perhaps you might want to consider changing your method of appointing members to the Planning Commission to increase the diversity. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening. My name is Rose Miller, and I live in 101 Wards Lane in St. Mary's. I want to acknowledge every one of you. Thank you for your time. I know this is a cumbersome job. I served on the board in the community in which I live, which is Cumberland Harbor. I just want to speak on some generalities. The neighborhood that I live in and Osprey Cove and several other areas, Harriet's Bluff, we are all surrounded by such beautiful nature, and we really don't want that disturbed by seeing a spaceport going up there. We've all given our votes on this. We're very passionate about it, not to mention the pollution and other things that will come out of something like this. I don't see any good reason for doing that. Secondly, I just want to say in the 4.5 years that I've lived here, I am appalled almost every Thursday when I read the newspaper and I see some of the scandals going on in this county. I cannot believe that there's not accountability for how money is spent. I know that when I served on the board at Cumberland Harbor, every single one of us were checked. If there was money that was spent over a certain dollar amount, we had to show it and get approval from it. And it just seems that money is going out the door and there is no accountability. We have to do a better job of that if we're going to continue to grow and attract people. I moved here from Atlanta. Previously, I was in Miami, Florida, and I was active in a lot of the government works that were going on there. I think the people of Camden County are very proud people. From what I've seen, a lot of longtime people here, and we need to make Camden County a continual place that people are going to want to bring families here to and raise their children and be proud to live in. So thank you for all your efforts, and thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
Good evening, and my name's Tony Rosso. We moved here a couple years ago. We own Forever Fit Physical Therapy, and first of all, I want to say thank you, each and every one of you guys that are up here and providing public servants. That's a huge job, and I think people beat you up a little bit, and I want to let you know there's a lot of people who are thankful that you do the job. So thank you. You know, I'm here to speak about the stadium and kind of a similar story to Coach Herring. When we moved in 2 years ago, the school system, that whole complex was one of the first things we've seen. And it was quite impressive. As we get into the stadium, as we get into some of those things now, and you look into it, it's a little bit, it's been neglected. And it's time to get it back to where it was. You know, I think a lot of people don't realize that stadium could be an incredible asset to this community. I don't think it's a PSA problem. I don't think it's a PSA asset. I think it's a communal problem now, or a community asset. Glenn County has built a beautiful stadium up there, and recently, you know, they got a Florida-Georgia rivalry series, which is an additional 8 games in there. If you look at some of the multiplying factors, when you bring that type of crowd into a community the size of ours, that multiplying factor is substantial to our community and the spending that goes on with that. Additionally, they got the Georgia, and correct me if I'm wrong, the Georgia High School Coaches Association All-State Games, and that was over the month of December. Additional 3 more home football games. Now, we're just talking football. The other assets that could be, or the other events that could be there, could be revenue generating. However, they looked at our stadium. It's not where it needs to be. And so being a business owner, being a successful business owner here, we would love to see some more revenue generating events happen in our community. And I think that stadium could bring those events to us. You know, we also have another friend that we brought into this community, moved down here, he owns Pest USA out of Atlanta. Huge $15-20 million business. He contributed to the quarterback club, and I said, well, let's get your sign up. He says, I'm not putting my sign on that stadium. It's like, it looks bad. I was like, wow. You know, and he's still here, his son's still in the program, but he was comparing it to where they came from, a Buford type. And so it was kind of eye-opening when he said that. You got a businessman who is willing and able to relocate and spend a lot of money here. However, he doesn't, he's not willing yet. But again, I think it's not money spent. It's going to be money gained. All right. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Anybody else?
Good evening, Commissioners. David Rayner, Woodbine. I didn't plan on speaking tonight, but on behalf of the previous comments, we need some rebuttal time. I believe in for the people, by the people, and we the people. That's pretty evident, and you guys have been doing a great job working for us, the people. The people aren't a small minority who are the loudest. What I mean by that, on March the 1st in 2022, I conducted a tech talk at the high school. There were 75 or so people in attendance to that. And I spoke about what is the space industry about. It's not about launching rockets. It's not that at all. It's about the infrastructure that is used there. The rocket's only a vehicle. So I talked about the experiments that fly into space that can cure things like muscular dystrophy. Mr. Winkle was so offended by that, knowing that that talk was coming up, he belittled me on his website, saying that I'm going to be talking about magic crystals. He was so insulted by that talk that he showed up and he stood at the doorway with a sign on his front and back and tried to turn away my guests from my event. So that was my first initiation of Mr. Winkle. March 24th was the primary. I was on the sidewalk. I was on the sidewalk. He pulled up behind me and he called me the biggest horse's ass that he's ever seen.
Don't attack him.
Okay. On October 6th, I debated this gentleman. Okay, he had 5 points that he made, and I contradicted every one of those points to his dismay. That's a fact. That's not belittling.
Point of order.
That's a fact.
Mr. Chairman.
So when he talks about what when he brings up his points of this tonight, this is old stuff. He's blowing smoke up everybody's butt here. He's blowing smoke.
Mr. Rayner, wrap it up, please.
Okay. And so I urge you to, that you do not release all the records. That is something that is in the, yeah, laugh about it.
Mr. Winkle, please sit down.
Mr. Winkle is no more out of order than Mr. Rayner is.
Yes, he is.
Mr. Rayner,
Okay.
wrap it up.
You cannot release all the records because you have non-disclosure agreements with these companies.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I have a rebuttal. Will I be allowed the 3 minutes?
You already spoken once?
Yep.
Get up there. Go ahead, Mr. Winkle. Go ahead.
Take that off the time.
My discussion tonight entirely had to do with county actions and county inactions under the Georgia Open Records Act. Y'all have disobeyed state law and allowed the use of an inappropriate exemption to refuse to provide records which would have clarified the spaceport issue years ago. It is the board of the commissioners, of Camden County, who are at fault for citizens attacking each other. Of course, there are going to be different sides to these issues. The dishonesty about the spaceport, which can be documented and has been documented, the dishonesty has nothing to do with magic crystals in space. The dishonesty has to do with the fact that y'all have allowed the unaccounted expenses of more than $11 million on the spaceport and have refused to allow that information to be released so long now that we cannot even trust that all of that information still exists. In fact, how do we know that a lot of those records haven't already left the county? How do we know that the people responsible haven't found jobs elsewhere? How do we know what Fenimore Ventures means to me as a taxpayer? He got $593,000 of all of our money, and y'all have refused for years to let that information go. That's what this discussion is about. That's what I talked about. Personal attacks on me indicates the smallness of the person who made them.
Thank you for your comment.
Ken Kessler, Kingsland.
Can you get a little closer to the mic, Ken?
Ken Kessler, Kingsland. I am tired of the lies, the half-truths, and the non-statements that have been made about the spaceport. I supported the spaceport from the very beginning. There are, on a good weekend, only 100 people on Little Cumberland Island. There are only 2 people there that have homestead exemption. And when this started, there was only 1 homestead exemption. The others come very seldom. One of those happens to be the publisher of our local paper, but I have never seen that disclosed. Over the years, we have been looked at by Blue Origin. If they had come here, we'd have 900 plus employees. If SpaceX had come, we would have 1,000 plus employees. And some of those launches that have occurred, and we've noticed on TV, I've looked out my door and seen them. 12 of those could have occurred here, and we would be on our way to trying to change our license to get more. I fully hope that we can manage to go through and get a spaceport, and that we will in 10 years have 50 or more launches. In Space News today's issue, there's an article how there is a lack of launch sites in the United States. And if the United States is going to continue to grow the industry, there need to be more launch locations. And Camden County will benefit greatly to the tune of thousands of jobs and millions of dollars. And what we've spent on it now will be a pittance. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anybody else? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public comment section and we'll go to old business. And that is, who's handling that, Sean? Is that me or
Yes,
you?
sir. Yes, sir. It's, for the board's discussion.
Okay, has everybody read the rules that we want to set for the agenda setting?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have.
Can I get a motion on this item?
Motion to approve the established rules and pertaining to the agenda, setting process.
Can I have a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, this brings us to item number 2. And that is discussion and vote on a prior motion to release all spaceport records. I believe Mr. Goodman made the motion at the last, or at a previous meeting. Let's see.
Pardon me. Is this on? Can you hear me? I find it difficult to justify the withholding of spaceport records in light of the rulings by the Supreme Court. These records belong to the citizens of Camden County, bought and paid for. The memoranda of understanding on many, if not most of these records, if they ever existed, which we do not know, have expired because some of the companies are no longer even in business. At any rate, for those that do exist, we now are not going to be building a spaceport. The Supreme Court upheld the vote of the citizens. There should be no more question about that. I do not know what it is that members of this commission have said to people who question it, that, quote, if you knew what we knew, you'd feel differently about the spaceport. I point blank asked to be shown what it is that the members, some members of this commission, know that I don't know. It was not laid before me. I asked
a member who's not here tonight what he has been shown. And he said nothing. There is no there. I believe there's going to be ongoing challenges. There are going to be ongoing challenges and questions. And I think this board is putting itself in a very precarious position to maintain its refusal to release public records to the public. To that end, I would like to make a motion, and I will make this motion every opportunity I get a chance, at every meeting I get a chance, even though there's now a process to thwart putting things on the agenda. The motion is that we release all spaceport records, plainly and simply. End of motion.
Okay, I'm gonna make a subsidiary motion that we, postpone this to a different, to the July. Excuse me. Well, if you let me, explain, maybe you'll understand this. I'm gonna make an intervening motion or a subsidiary motion to delay this action until the July 1st meeting. And the reasons why is if we release all the information that Mr. Goodman is proposing, we will violate non-disclosure agreements. Plus, we'll also violate ITAR legislation, and ITAR has to do with, let me look that back up here. ITAR is federal regulations dealing with the transfer of any information that has to deal with arms, which also has to deal with launch vehicles and rockets, which part of what we're doing is of course rockets. And also, Mr. Goodman, the resolution that was proposed and was voted on was just to stop the purchase of the property. It was never to stop the spaceport project, even though a lot of people wanted to stop the project. Now, I've had a lot of people come up to me and say, hey, we're in favor of the project. We just don't want to buy the property. And I agree with that. I've always stated that I want to own as little of the property as possible to get the deal done. So with that, I've got an intervening motion or a subsidiary motion to delay it to July 1st.
I'd like to make an
Can I get a
intervening
second?
motion
You
to
got
your
my
intervening
second.
motion.
Chairman.
We got a second? All those in favor? Okay. Those opposed?
Opposed?
We just had it.
He just had it.
All right, next item. We don't go by Robert's rules, I'm sorry. The International Traffic in Arms Regulations is Category 4. It's launch vehicles, guided missiles, ballistic missile, rockets, and it goes on.
An agreement involving that.
Mr. Winkle, do you want to be removed?
Something, this for a real hearing?
It's
Real
not.
people who really cared about the county?
Mr. Winkle, do you want to be removed?
I'll remove myself. Because you don't earn my respect.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Criminal violators of the International Traffic in Arms Regulations can be fined up to $1 million and 10 years imprisonment. I don't want to face that. Civil fines are up to $500,000 per violation. Do y'all want to subject the county to that?
I'll take my chances.
So, all right, we're moving on to item
During
number 3.
discussion, Mr. Chairman, I did try to continue the discussion. I was cut off. I don't think you heard me. What I said was I would like to make an intervening motion or modify my motion. I think.
Well, we've already made the motion and
Yeah,
it carries.
because you failed to recognize me.
Item number 3, please. Joey?
No, this is This is appointment to
This is
the,
this is appointment to the Camden County Planning Commission for District 4. Normally, we have a lot of applicants for these positions. We've had 2, and one of them has removed itself from this. So, Mr. Goodman, do you want to make a motion on this item?
I make a motion that we accept the application of Mr. Wiley King. He comes highly qualified. I've had personal experience with him when I was a councilman. He's very knowledgeable, and I think he will serve the planning board extremely well. And I regret that others chose not to apply or to withdraw their applications. But nonetheless, we have a very highly qualified gentleman who has agreed to step up and serve. And I thank Mr. Wiley King. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second that motion. All in favor? Motion carries. Wiley King will be on the planning board. Okay. Item number 4, appointment to the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities. Somebody, I think we got 2 appointees for this. We'll take them one at a time.
Yeah. I nominate Dawn Gray to this board.
Okay. Can I get a second? We got a first and a second. All in favor? Okay, motion carries unanimously.
Let me clarify my pronunciation. I'm a little bit tongue-tied. It's D-A-W-N, Dawn Gray. Comes highly qualified, and I appreciate her stepping up to this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right. We got another nomination? There's 2 of them. We need 2.
I do not have another one.
Jennifer Stratton. Nominate Jennifer Stratton.
I second it.
So we got a first and a second. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. All right, this brings us to funding for the Woodbine Public Library.
I make a motion that this board fund the Woodbine Public Library and do so enthusiastically and with great pleasure because of its demonstrated efforts at a grassroots level to bring literacy to the north end of the county particularly, and to serve an underserved population. And I further opine, jumping just slightly ahead on the agenda, that if we are going to consider $100,000 for a glorified Jumbotron scoreboard, which the whole county uses, and I believe in recreating to avoid incarcerating, and I support it, but I can't in conscience vote for that without including the funding for the public library. We can do both. Thank you.
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll tell you ahead, I can't vote for that under the conditions. We asked for something, they did not follow through with it. The gentleman told us tonight that he didn't follow up with demand didn't follow up with him to join the libraries to be one, we would totally fund then. And I also agree that with Commissioner Reddick's assumption that Woodbine should participate in this, they do not offer no monetary contribution whatsoever. Yeah, they donated a building, that's true. But the value of what the county will put into it will supersede that building many, many times if we continue to do this. I would, my motion wouldn't be to fund it totally as it's presented here tonight.
I would only agree to fund it if there was some type of an agreement written up. The agreement that they have drawn up, I'm not in favor of that agreement at all.
No.
So, you know, my vote on just straight out funding them would be no unless we come up with some type of agreement. But I would love to see it move to becoming part of the Camden County Library.
Be no issue with funding it whatsoever. Or, again, Woodbine contributed, if Woodbine contributed 10, we'll contribute 20. 2-1.
So we got a first and a second. All in favor?
I need clarification. Which motion are we now voting on?
It's your
On
motion.
yours. That we fund 30,000?
Well,
See, there was discussion.
see, the problem is, you know, you fund it 30,000 without some type of agreement. They're gonna be back next year asking for 30,000. And they're, which you, you know, if we're gonna fund it, we need some type of operating agreement. We can't just hand money over.
Goes back to the old saying, taxation without representation.
We can't hand money over.
Well, without some type of formal agreement, I'm not in favor of handing money over to them anymore. So you got a first and a second. All those in favor of that motion?
And I'm still confused when at the end of this vote, what is it that we have approved? Not to fund them or what? To fund them for 30,000.
Yes.
Okay, then I
Now,
am
as far as I'm concerned, is that 30,000 1 year or 30,000 for 10 years or 30,000
I
indefinitely?
don't think that they specified year after year and they can come back next year with a demonstrated track record of the numbers of people that they're serving and we can reconsider it. We're not going to be broke next year.
Well, in my opinion, they need to become part of the Camden County Library. And that's, if you become part of the Camden County Library, Camden County will not let the library fail. Right now, it's your library.
Colleen, could I use your library if I wanted to? Then it's my library. Anybody in here that would be refused service at your library?
Mr. Goodman, you got a motion
I have a motion.
and a second.
Yes?
Those in favor? Those opposed? So I don't know what the rules are as far as.
Well, we
No
make them
action.
up.
No action.
What was the advice of the attorney?
No action.
Thank you. Then I'll accept that. We'll bring it back up.
Yeah. Well, we'll add it to the next meeting. All right. So we'll take this back up on the next meeting. All right, this brings us to item number 6, consideration of approval of funding for the Howard Gilman Stadium scoreboard. Sure.
I'm the one that initiated this, and I did it for a reason. I want to see our county work together. Now, I know that tonight you got a lot of questions, and I have a lot of questions. I've had a lot of questions since I started running for this office, and I still have them. However, I recognize one fact, that every time somebody sues this county, it immediately costs us $25,000. I don't know if you knew that or not, but if you take 5 lawsuits and get rid of them, or they're not a part, somebody's not suing you, whether it's the sheriff's office or anywhere else, if you take those lawsuits away, you could fund just about anything that you wanted to. So that's important to me. And also the fact that when we started talking about this, we started talking about the city of St. Mary's, the city of Kingsland, the city of Woodbine, the school district, and the county working together to put a top-notch football stadium to bring it back up to speed to where it should be. And that's what we did. That's why Coach Herring's here tonight. That's why Jonathan Blunt, who's the chairman of the Board of Education, he's here. He was going to talk. We didn't let him because we didn't want to be here 3.5 hours like we were last week. Now, I get it. I get it. I know that our community is hurting, and you want answers. And believe me, I do too. But I also know that we've got to do everything that we do legally. That's why Mr. Myers is here. He is to advise us what's legal and what isn't. We don't want the government to sue us because there's your $25,000 or whatever else there is. So guys, I encourage you to hang on. You know, it's coming. I promise you it's coming. Or I'll resign myself. I won't be involved in this at all. But I will say this. I've lived in this county my whole life. I played on the very first Wildcat football team. I love sports. I love our schools. I love our kids. And I want to see this county kind of come together. Quit doing this. Stop allowing the negative people around you to constantly pull you apart, and begin to come together to recognize that we are a community. Now, I mean that because that's important to me. I'll step down tomorrow if I didn't think that was important. It's important to me that we work as a county. We don't have to agree, but we do have to work together. And that's the only way for us to go forward. I am for the library. I think it's great. But he doesn't have to be, and he doesn't have to be, and you don't have to be. But we still move forward. Over the last 20 years, we've lost 3,500 jobs in this community. We lost a paper mill. I lost a job then and had to start a business. We lost a bag plant. We lost a Union Carbide. We lost a Bear Crop. We lost Rome Palone. We lost a lot of jobs. And we got kids that are coming up that need jobs. I want my grandkids to stay here. I don't know about you, but I do. And I want when people come to Camden County and they look at that football field and they see that scoreboard out there and they say, man, that is a sharp scoreboard. I want them to be overwhelmed by that. That's why we started working together. I see you laughing, Jonathan. Did I say something funny? But I've sitting here and I've listened to this and I've seen this, and I don't want to see that. It breaks my heart for a county that I love with everything that I've got. So guys, it's important that we work together. I'm proud of the school board, the city of St. Mary's, the city of Kingsland, the politicians that are there. They're working together. They're not beating each other up anymore. And that's what I want to see. So there you go. That's your sermon. You don't have to go to church on Sunday. You just go.
Mr. Chairman, what is the cost of the scoreboard? Could I answer that, Mr. Case?
Yeah,
Chairman Case?
Lanny's got.
We don't know the cost of it because the bids are invalid. The bids do not meet the state criteria for a bid on a project of this size. We have 3 documents here. Did you know that the PSA was located at 209 Sapphire Road in New Smyrna Beach, Florida? That's the way the bid come in, 2 of them. The third one, in order for me to support this, and I will totally support it, if it is bid properly by the Public Service Authority, not by the school board, bid by the Public Service Authority, and in a legal bid, 3 sealed bids to come into there, I will support it wholeheartedly. I cannot support the bids I have here this evening. But the price, to answer your question, one of them is $317,844. Another one is $317,913.60. And the third one, trying to make heads or tails out of it, you got, so another one here with another name on it. Hold on just one second. And like I say, I will support it once it is done properly. I think this one come in, if you're reading the bottom line, if that is a total bid of $193,180.
Yeah, again, that goes back to legal.
Right.
Because the PSA has, we're getting ready to decide whether they're going to be prosecuted or not. So they've got to do it the right way. You're
Well,
absolutely right.
that's-
That's what John Myers is doing.
That's the past PSA, not current.
The old PSA.
I
board.
get it, I get it, but I'm
There's none of
talking
those
about-
members on this board now, on this PSA board now.
But I'm talking about, this is a new deal, and it's gonna be done right. I agree with you.
Auditors will kill you if you submitted this bid in to
We're
be
not.
processed.
We're
And we're
not.
not gonna do it.
Thank you for
Not
that
with my name
information.
attached to it. If it's bid properly, correct bids received, done by the PSA, I totally support it.
Thank you, Mr. Brandt. It sounds like we cannot make a decision at this meeting to support something that we don't have any idea what the bids are going to come in at because they've not been submitted in a legal fashion.
That's right.
I think we can.
Well, there's a way around that.
Yeah.
I'll make one comment. The PSA, because of the scandal with the PSA in the past, all PSA facilities have been neglected. The stadium is no different than the county parks or anything else. I wholeheartedly supported, the PSA going back to the funding entities for more money to help with some of these issues. We've gone and we used ARPA money to fund the county parks to bring them back up. I would like to see the PSA have another agreement with the school system where the school system was actually paying them rent again. They did that for a period from 2009 to I think 2013. That would go a long way in helping the PSA maintain that stadium. Now, I do not disagree with the need for the scoreboard, but is the scoreboard, to me, a top priority? Now, I think the issues with the stadium as far as safety and other stuff should be taken care of first. But, I can see the use of a scoreboard. And if we make a motion where it's contingent upon getting the proper bids and also the agreement from the cities and the PSA to do the right thing, I don't see a problem with us doing it.
I'd like to add one other chip to that, and that is, it was alluded to by probably the biggest man in this room, that a business sponsor would do it if it looked decent. We need to explore the relationship with large businesses who have the financial wherewithal to want to put their name above that scoreboard, beside that scoreboard, flashing on that jumbotron, whatever, and pay the price for doing it. It's good advertisement. There's a stadium full of people, and it would even apply to regional advertisers when we host regional events. I sincerely believe in what I said earlier. You recreate or you have to rehabilitate or incarcerate. So I am in favor of it. At the same time, I'm in favor of literacy in this county. I think there's a happy medium. So thank you, Mr. Brandt, for the information. I agree with what you said, Mr. Casey, but let me please add that we need to explore all funding sources. And the quote that I did have was 400,000 for the jumbotron type scoreboard. And there's a gentleman here in this room tonight that gave me that quote. I'm not going to single him out, but that's what he said to me.
Well, but for a government, you need 3 competitive bids that are apples to apples, and they need to be sealed bids. The PSA should be requiring that, and I understand that Mr. Brandt has required them to do that. All right. Do you want to make the motion?
I'll make the motion. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we fund the scoreboard in the stadium contingent upon the city of St. Mary's, the city of Kingsland, the city of Woodbine, if Woodbine's contributing, and that it be bid legally with sealed bids done by the Public Service Authority of Camden County.
I second it.
All right, got a first and second. All in favor? Motion carries. Oh. Okay, this brings us to item number 7. A resolution requesting the district attorney prosecute those involved in the Camden County Public Service Authority theft and misuse of funds. I believe the sheriff's office asked us to postpone that for some more clarification. Chuck, you want to? I think you wanted to clarify some stuff.
We just had a couple of verbiage changes we'd like in there. It was asking the county administrator to ask the DAs where we stood on it and stuff like that. We want to ask also the Attorney General for his input on it. It didn't address the Attorney General. There's also one of the paragraphs in there where it mentioned that Mr. Brunson was already doing federal time, and that the assistant director and Mr. Fenner, his wife, were arrested and pending state charges. Also, Mr. Brunson is pending state charges too as well. That wasn't in there, but we want that to be whereas to go to the Attorney General more so than the district attorneys. We're trying to keep it, the district attorneys from piecing and parsing it all out. This should be under the jurisdiction of the Attorney General, special grand jury appointed to do that. So we wanted the verbiage change on that. So we'd like to table it for tonight.
Well, we can go ahead and make a motion on it based on your edits.
That would be fine.
So I'll make a motion, we approve this item based on the edits from Mr. Barley.
Second.
First and second?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would really recommend that you actually have the resolution be a part of the meeting that you approve, rather than just verbal.
I'll remove my motion then, and we'll add it to the agenda for the next meeting, and we'll have everything worked up.
That's acceptable. Would you like a motion to table this to the next meeting?
Let's see.
If you need to.
I think it'd be a good idea to put it on record, Mr. Brandt.
Well, we'll make,
Yeah.
you can make a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Postpone it.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we table this to the next meeting and get the referendum written the way that they were requesting it be written before we vote on it.
Second the motion.
All in favor? Motion carries. All right, this brings us to item number 8, consideration of termination of the county attorney. Can I get a motion on this item?
So moved.
We have a second. No second, sir. So there's no action taken on this. All right. Item number 9, Julie.
She got the big board tonight.
Uh-oh.
I'm requesting that the Board of Commissioners approve a $4,015.20 grant from ACCG through the Georgia County Internship Program. These funds will be used to hire 2 college students to work as interns this summer. One will work in the planning department and the other will work in fire rescue. Each department will contribute $600 as match. At this time, I would like approval to accept award as presented.
Motion to accept as presented, Mr. Chairman.
And thank you. This is something we've done for quite a few years. I'll second your motion. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Do you want a picture of this?
Yes, please.
All right, this brings us to item number 10. Surplus and donation of asset number 3006, Life Squad number 7 to Camden County High School and Camden County Board of Education.
Good evening, Commissioners. At this time, we'd like you to consider approval for Camden County Fire Rescue to donate our Life Squad 7 to Camden County High School and the Board of Commissioners for our EMT basic course that we have started in the high school. We started in January with this program in conjunction with the high school and Coastal Pines Community College. This is a dual enrollment course. What we do is we go in 3 days a week. The fire rescue personnel, along with the teachers at the high school, and we are teaching the EMT basic course. With that, they will leave the course if they pass. They can test out for national registry before the age of 18, and then once they reach the age of 18, they can actually get a state license for their EMT basic. With that, they can take that to different aspects through first responders, through our program, working either in the county, private ambulance services, or even working in hospitals or internships like we were just awarded, that they can work with throughout. So at this time, we would like to have that awarded for us to donate to the high school.
Can I get a motion on the side?
So moved, and with great appreciation as a 75-year-old man with a heart condition. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I would second that.
All those in favor? Motion carried.
I do have one comment. With that, we were able to also be the first high school approved to teach the advanced EMT course if we choose to do so in the future.
Okay, at this time, we need to adjourn the regular meeting and convene a solid waste authority meeting. Can I get a motion on that?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we adjourn the regular meeting, convene the solid waste authority meeting.
Second motion. Sorry, you want to do that?
All those in favor? Motion carries. All right, this time we need to reorganize the solid waste authority. So,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that Mr. Casey remain, be the chairman of the solid waste authority. Chairman Casey.
all right. Got a first and second? All those in favor? Motion carries. All right, I make a motion, the vice chair, Mr. Brandt, be the vice chair of the solid waste authority. Can I get a motion on that?
Second motion.
All those in favor? Motion carries. All right. Is there any amendments to the agenda?
No.
All right, can I have a motion to accept the agenda?
Motion to adopt the agenda as presented, Mr. Chairman.
We have a second? All those in favor? Motion carries. All right, this brings us to the approval of the minutes. Well, you can. Yeah, because I believe that those who were not present at the September meeting, which y'all were not on the board then, you know, you can still vote to accept the minutes if you believe that the minutes are accurate. Is that true?
Yeah, you could either do that or you could, you know, table these minutes for the next solid waste authority whenever we have a full board, but.
You know, if y'all are okay with the minutes, we can get it out of the way.
It happens sometimes when other commissions where all 5 commissioners, sometimes can be, they're all appointed at the same time frame. They're not
Yeah.
staggered terms, so it does happen.
This actually just happened with the first meeting of the PSA board this
Yes,
year.
sir.
I would rather table it and give Mr. Reddick that opportunity at the next meeting.
Okay, you got a motion to table?
Yes, motion to table.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Thank
All right, we'll postpone this to the next solid waste authority meeting. All right, this brings us to public comments on the solid waste authority.
I don't for the first, but I do for the second public comments.
Okay. All right, this brings us to item number 1, replacement of the drop box in the Volvo articulated truck.
Cyrus Roberts going to present that.
Yep.
Good evening, Commissioners.
This agenda item is for the consideration of the approval, the cost of replacing a drop box. That's the proper name for it, is a drop box, but y'all may be familiar if I use the word, power divider.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to make it where everybody can understand what I'm talking about. But the landfills have been using this truck for years. This machine has been in use for about 15 years with the landfills, with both landfills, the MSW landfill and also the C&D landfill. It's required by EPD that we have a truck like this, be able to transfer soil for cover weight, because our MSW landfill, it requires us to cover that daily. So we have to have daily cover for that. And I'm just here asking for permission to be able to get that truck repaired.
What's the, may I ask the price of this replacement?
Well, we use a sole source out of Jacksonville called Auto Construction, and right now the best deal we could get was right around $34,507.
Is that to make new or to repair?
It's gonna be a new drop box.
New box.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Try to take care of it, man. Only 15 years, man.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
We're gonna first and a second. All those in favor? Motion carries. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank
Okay,
you.
that brings us to the last public comment session.
Yes, Ms. Nita Dasher.
Nita Dasher from Harriet's Bluff. Since we're talking about waste, I want to talk about the Old Steel Road landfill. I moved to Camden County 2 years ago, and I've been using the Old Steel Road landfill since day one. I take my yard waste at least once a month. Every time I go there, it seems like the pile's growing larger and larger and has expanded out to the road that goes around it. When I first started going there, there was always someone there pushing it back and keeping it clean. That doesn't seem to be happening anymore. Are we maintaining that landfill? I want to know what the plan for this landfill is. The landfill is very important and necessary for the people in the area to dispose of yard waste. The main county landfill is almost an hour's drive away, so it's kind of inconvenient. So I'd like to know if we're going to do anything with that.
I would be happy to talk with her. Ma'am, I would discuss that. Excuse me, right here. I would be happy to discuss this with you after the meeting.
All right, any other comments on solid waste? No trash talkers, okay. All right. We need to adjourn the solid waste meeting and reconvene the regular meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn the solid waste meeting.
Second.
All those in favor? All right, we're back in the regular meeting, and this brings us back up to Cyrus.
You didn't know you had to face us twice, did you?
Oh. I'm just requesting approval for this item from the board, on the drop box / power divider.
The truck itself is in pretty good shape. It's just the box.
Yes, sir.
It's an articulated dump, one of the big dumps.
Yeah.
Yeah, 30 ton.
It's kind of like it's a big off-road dump truck, and that's the only way we could transfer the soil from the dirt pit to the hill, because it have rough terrains that have to go through, be able to transfer the soil to the working phase, and so we can properly cover for our EPD inspections that's required for the landfill.
Can I get a motion on this item?
Make a motion to approve the item for 34,000 and change.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you, sir.
All right, this brings us to the calendar. Katie,
There's no changes to the calendar at this time.
any comments from the county administrator?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. So we just recently released the county administrator's brief. Highly encourage each of you, all of the citizens in the room as well, to please take a look at that. Staff put a lot of hard work and time into developing all of that, as a number of different topics related to the strategic plan, capital projects that the county is working on with either local jurisdictions or even state jurisdictions or agencies, as well as just overall departmental updates. So it's quite a bit of information. Most of it's high level stuff, but it does get into the details on some of the capital projects. So just wanted to thank staff for their hard work and dedication in completing that. That will be a monthly updated report. So as we move forward, that information will be up all of each month. Basically, we'll have updated information written in blue. Everything that was in black was from the preceding month. So just wanted to mention that and thank the staff. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, this time we have additional public comments. We'll limit it to 3 minutes.
I have several registered.
All right.
The first will be Ricky Manning. Oh, oh yeah, there you are.
Chief's in the batter's box, isn't that right, Chief?
Rick Manning from Bullhead. I got a couple things I want to read to y'all, and then I'll get into why. Georgia Code, Title 41, Chapter 1. A nuisance is anything that causes hurt, inconvenience, or damage to another, and the fact that the act done may otherwise be lawful shall not keep it from being a nuisance. Now, let's go to the county code. Division 2, Noise Control, Section 810, loud, unnecessary, and unusual. It shall be unlawful for any person to make, continue, or cause to be made any loud, unnecessary, or unusual noise, or any noise that unreasonably or unnecessarily annoys, disturbs, injures, or endangers the comfort, repose, health, peace, or safety of others in the county. That's your county ordinance. You're disturbing the peace, and you're all held liable for it. I have asked and asked for you to put decent acoustical barriers up at the gun range. It's disturbing the peace, it's disturbing the wildlife, there's plenty of data on it, and you know it. You knew this was gonna come up when you built the range. You didn't do any testing on the range to begin with, it's all predicted. It's right there in your report. You gave it to me, predicted data, no tests. And we knew all this was gonna come up, yet you still refuse to address it, and you're still spending money and wanting to expand the range. I'm telling you right now, you're breaking your own laws. These are the county laws. You're breaking them. You're disturbing the peace. So let's get off it and do something about it. Because I'm fixing to file formal complaints with the state and the county against this. And it's all legal. Because you're breaking the law. Let's do something. You keep spending money on the range. You can spend tax money buying t-shirts, hats, throwing free barbecue dinners out there at the range, but you can't fix the problem. Come on, that's a waste, misuse of tax funds when you don't address the problem that you created, that you knew you was going to create, and you knew this was going to happen. We went through the same thing with the landfill, Laney. You were there when we put the bird cannons out there. I believe you were there. Somebody was there. We had to petition to get the bird cannons removed. So, I mean, there's no difference. We just throw away everybody on that section of the county. Let's throw everything out there. The landfill is a necessary evil. I have to smell every time we get a lot of rain and wind blows from that way, but it's necessary. Gun range is recreation. We're not trying to shut the gun range down, folks. We just want the noise problem fixed. Now, if you want to get into it, it looks to me like y'all trying to shut it down. That's what I'm getting out of this, because you don't want to fix the noise problem. So the next step is to shut it down if you don't want to fix the noise problem. So if that happens, it's y'all. It's not me. Fix the noise.
Thank you for your comment.
Mr. Steve Winkle? He's still here?
Well,
Okay. If
who's
he comes
next?
back in, we'll call him again. Ms. Janie Everett?
Good evening. My name is Janie Everett, and I'm from Woodbine. I'd like to thank you all for coming to the 52nd fire call anniversary. And it seems as though there's a couple of corrections that we need to make in a resolution dated November 15th. We inadvertently, I believe, left out declaring the 30 people killed at the plant as distinguished citizens. It's a minor thing. Well, I mean, I think it was a typo. It wasn't read into the record. But now the Senate has LC 1270090 asking that they are declared. And so any help that you can, give us in assuring that whatever corrections need to be made, that they're made, it would be appreciated. Every year, Thycall Memorial Project sets forth projects that we could complete during the year. Last year, it was purchasing a headstone for one of the patriots, locating all the resting places of the 30 people killed at the plant, and the resolution. This year, we have 4 projects online that we would like to do. We just received 137 photos from different sources, and we found the Thycall photographer. He's back in country. So that's one project that we've been working on and piecing together, and people donating photos. But the main 4 projects is the renaming of Harris Bluff Road to Patriots Memorial Parkway, to have the interchange on the southbound and northbound side of the highway, memorialized for all 600 of the workers from the Thycall chemical plant. Harris Bluff Road was Old Thycall Road until the interstate came through, and they named it Harris Bluff. So that's 2 projects. The other project is to sanctify the grounds, the footprint of M132 and possibly 141 and 143, the area around the explosion site on the Thycall property. The land needs healing. It's been 52 years. It's time for us to do that. The 4th and final project is to solicit the state board to have the Thycall history included in the curriculum so that it can be taught statewide. I thank y'all for your patience, and I hope that in the new budget, possibly, we thank you for the money that you did award us, but we need more. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Mr. Rob Moore.
Robert Moore, St. Mary's, 509 Westgate Circle. Last meeting, I came before this board to bring awareness to the Coastal Regional Commission and their transportation services, or really the lack thereof. In that time, I've called 3 additional times. There's no movement or change. It's still Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10 to noon, 10 to 1, so 4 to 6 hours of availability. The word I'm getting is they need drivers, and that's the same excuse I've been hearing for 9 months. All their buses except for one that's parked at the PSA are out rolling around. I've been trying to contact Mr. Burns, the director of the CRC, but he's not returning calls. I don't know if he's starting to put up walls because questions are getting asked, but being that Mr. Brandt, that you're on the council for the CRC, I like to see some sort of movement, some sort of information. To me, it does seem, I don't want to use the term conflict, but I would definitely say it's a bit unethical or misleading to offer a service for the public for transportation, but then they take contracts for dialysis and senior center transportation. Basically, they have overextended themselves, and I would say in the meantime, until drivers or more buses or what have you are acquired by the CRC, I think the CRC should be pushed where they're no longer promoting the service. Let's just stop selling a service that they cannot provide. Okay, so basically that just limits them to dialysis and senior centers. Okay, I don't have a problem with senior citizens getting transportation for recreation or other needs. Dialysis patients, clearly there's some sort of contract that the CRC is getting reimbursed for. So I don't know. I've been trying to get answers from this board, from the city of St. Mary's. I've reached out to Miss Chance, that's on the Kingsland. No answer. So to everyone listening, if you're not sure what I'm talking about, the white kind of church-like or small bus that parks out at the PSA parking lot. They say they roll around. They're supposed to help us or fellow citizens in need of transportation, but they're preoccupied, and I still have yet to see a single rider on these buses. Thank you.
I will speak with you after. I did bring up the subject at our meeting.
Okay.
I will speak with you after the meeting tonight.
Anybody else? She beat you to it, Mike.
Mary Beckman again. I live in District 3.
Could you step a little closer, please? Thank you.
Mary Beckman again. I still live in District 3. And I wanted to clarify my comment in the first comments period at the previous meeting, since the record of my comment in the minutes is a bit cryptic. As you'll recall, my comment followed immediately upon an endorsed NAACP branch president Timothy Besant's call for more attention to mental health resources relative to funding for a new jail as you proceed to implement the 2023 action agenda for the strategic plan. As President Besant noted, there have been several incidents in the last months where a Black person undergoing an acute mental health crisis was treated rather brutally by law enforcement officers. The case of Jarrett Hobbs in early September that was investigated by the GBI was not an isolated incident, unfortunately. In that light, as you consider what kind of new jail to design to replace the current one, please consider that when we do not fund mental health resources adequately, we are essentially instead forcing the jail to be what it's not equipped to be, the county's inpatient mental health care facility. At the jail task force meeting last Thursday, there was a Zoom presentation by the National Institute of Corrections Jail Division, during which we learned about the development of a new jail in Franklin County, Ohio. This is a county that has a population of more than 1.3 million. The original projected number of needed beds was 3,000. After 2 phases of development, during which the NIC helped them build a mental health diversion program that's similar to the one that DA Higgins is beginning to build this year, the projected need was reduced to little more than 1,000 beds. So I urge all of you commissioners, to listen to the video recording from that jail task force meeting and resolve to take full advantages of the free resources that the National Institute of Corrections offers as you go through this process. At the same time, I urge you again to do what you need to do to revive the Camden Criminal Justice Council and add mental health specialists and several more ordinary citizens so that all of the relevant stakeholders are involved as you consider the best way to allocate resources to mental health versus law enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Colleen Winkle. I would like to ask that the Board of Commissioners meet with the Woodbine Public Library before the next meeting to establish an MOU or agreement to fund the library for our 30,000 so that we can vote on it at the next meeting. That'd be great. I'd love to show off the library.
We'd have to meet, two at a time or one at a time with y'all. We can't, unless we open it up.
Why, we're gonna gang up on you or what?
No, it's
Against the law.
against the law.
It's a quorum. Anytime three's together, it's a quorum. The press has to be notified, everything else.
Oh, that'd be all right.
Has to be an advertised meeting and everything. So it's
Okay,
just easy.
all right. So who's gonna be the two?
Well, it could be all of us, but just not at the same time.
We can do it all the same day. Just
Okay,
can't be in the room together.
all right. So we'll get together and pick out a date.
All
All
right,
right.
sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else?
You better jump up now.
Any other ladies? I don't want to get in the, commissioners and county manager. My name is Mike Wilkie. I'm from St. Mary's, Bartram Place, candidate for the post 3 city council election. And the reason I came up this evening is to remind everyone that that election is 30 days from today. It will be on Tuesday, March the 21st, and early voting begins next Monday. I believe that the only early voting location will be the St. Mary's Visitor Center on Osborne Street, but that will start on Monday with the election itself being on Tuesday, the 21st. We will have a candidate forum on Thursday night of this week at the Three Rivers Church, which the address of that church escapes me, but it is in St. Mary's, starting at 6 p.m. I'd like to invite everyone to come for that forum so you can meet the candidates who are being chosen to represent for the city of St. Mary's. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Anybody else? All right, let's see. I believe we've got an executive session we need to go to. Can I have a motion
Mr. Chairman,
for that?
make a motion that we recess this meeting, go into executive session.
And this is a purpose for discussion litigation.
Yes.
Second motion.
All those in favor? Motion carries. All right, we'll be back.
Make a motion, we reconvene the regular meeting.
Second.
Okay, there was no action taken during the executive session. So can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor? We're done.